So let us focus on God's redemptive administration that appears in the book of Daniel. Today's part 36. These sermons were given from year 1990, February 24 to 1991, November 13. We're kind of near the end of the study of Daniel. We're now on Daniel chapter 10. It's finally chapter 10. And we'll be looking at the overview and Daniel's 3 weeks of fasting prayer. Daniel's 3 weeks of fasting prayer. We'll be focusing on that. So Daniel 10 verses 1 to 3. Let's read it together. In the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a message was revealed to Daniel, who was named Belteshazzar. And the message was true and one of great conflict. But he understood the message and had an understanding of the vision. In those days, I, Daniel, had been mourning for 3 entire weeks. I did not eat any tasty food, nor did meat or wine enter my mouth. Nor did I use any ointment at all until the entire 3 weeks were completed. So Daniel consists of 12 chapters. So Daniel has 12 chapters. So just like there's 12 months in a year, Daniel has 12 chapters. And 10 is an important number in the Bible. Or 12 is an important number in the Bible because, like the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 sons of Israel, like with Jacob, the 12 disciples of Jesus. 12 is a very symbolic number in the Bible. But also in Daniel as well, it ends with 12 chapters. So chapter 1 to, we've examined chapter 1 to 9, and today we'll be looking in Daniel chapter 10. And you have to kind of connect 10, 11, and 12 together. So Daniel 10 to 12, they're a detailed explanation of Daniel chapter 8. So it's detailed explanation of Daniel chapter 8. Daniel chapter 8, do you remember that? The content of Daniel 8 is the vision of the ram and the goat, which is a prophecy concerning Media and Persia and Greece. So Daniel was we assumed that he's 17 years old when he was exiled to Babylon in that 605 BC. And now in Daniel 2, Nebuchadnezzar has a dream. He has a vision. He has to interpret that dream. This vision in Daniel 2, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed it. And it was Daniel who interpreted the dream. He did not dream it himself. But now in Daniel 7 and 8, though, it is Daniel's vision. Like, this is the vision that he received. So Daniel 7 is like that. Daniel 8 is like that. It talks about the ram and the goat in Daniel 8. Oh, this is what's going to happen in the future. It's a prophecy. So it's a prophecy concerning Media and Persia and Greece. Persia. So there's Iran, they say that they're the descendants of Persia. And so that's in the Persian land. And then the Greeks comes after Persia. And so the prophecy about these are in Daniel 8. Daniel 8, 19 to 21. And he said, "Behold, I'm going to let you know what will occur at the final period of the indignation, for it pertains to the appointed time of the end. The ram which you saw with the 2 horns represents the kings of Media and Persia. And the shaggy goat represents the kingdom of Greece. And the large horn that is between his eyes is the first king." So it even gives you the interpretation. God's even giving him the interpretation about these kingdoms. Daniel chapter 8. Daniel 8 was in 550 BC, which is the 3rd year of King Belshazzar of Babylon. And Daniel was 72 years old. And it says in 8 verse 1, "In the 3rd year of the reign of Belshazzar, the king, a vision appeared to me." And so this is the last king of Babylon. Yes, accurately is Nabonidus, but in the biblically, the last recorded king is Belshazzar. Nebuchadnezzar. And the Neo-Babylonian starts with Nebuchadnezzar and goes on to Belshazzar. And it is the 3rd year of the reign of Belshazzar, the last king of Babylon. And at that time was 550 BC. Daniel at 605 BC is 17. Then we say at this time he is about 72 years old. He saw a vision about the ram and the goat, Mede and Persia, and then Greeks. And so he saw this vision when he was in the kingdom of Babylon. Later, it's destroyed by Mede and Persia. So at this time, Babylon, it's 11 years before the fall of Babylon. So this vision was given 11 years before the fall of Babylon in 539 BC. Because the fall is in 539 BC. So Belshazzar. Daniel 5:30-31. That same night, Belshazzar the Chaldean king was slain. So Darius the Mede received the kingdom at the age of 62. So here, this is Babylon, the nation, the country, the kingdom is completely destroyed with Belshazzar as the last king. That's 539 BC. But Daniel 8 is 550 BC. So 11 years before the fall of Babylon. And so before it's destroyed, 11 years before it was destroyed, at this time, Babylon's still in power. So 11 years later, it will be destroyed. Who can know that? Nobody knows that. But God sent this prophecy through a vision when Babylon was still powerful. Hey, Babylon will be destroyed. So he's teaching them about Persia. And then the Greece will come in power at the end. So Daniel received this vision. This Daniel 8. So, reference. Daniel 10-12. When did Daniel receive this? When in the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia. So this is during the king of Persia, 536 BC. Daniel was 86 years old. That's when Daniel 10:1, in the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a message was revealed to Daniel. And so he received this word of the prophecy at this time. That is 536 BC. And thus Daniel was 86 years old. So Daniel, so if we put 10, so 14 years prior, he saw that vision. 14 years later, God's basically explaining it to him. That is Daniel 10 to chapter 12. And so you need to connect this to Daniel 8. So it explains Daniel chapter 8. So you gotta refer to that. So then Daniel 10, what is it? It's an invisible spiritual warfare. So it's invisible spiritual warfare. This is a spiritual battle. So in the end time, there will be a last battle. There will be this battle in the heavens. The nations, it sometimes is swallowed up by another nation. There's war. But it first shows us through the war in heaven. And so Revelation 12 verse 7. There was war in heaven. Michael and his angels waging war with the dragon. And the dragon and his angels waged war. So there's a war in heaven, it says. So Daniel chapter 10 This is the invisible spiritual warfare. Like, it's showing this war. Then Daniel 11. Daniel 11 is about the visible earthly wars. The visible earthly wars. That's Daniel 11. Then Daniel 12, it's the conclusion. But not only of Daniel 8, but of the entire book of Daniel. It's the conclusion of the whole book. So we need to know these big kind of framework before we go into the details. So today, let's just examine the overview of the Daniel 10. Let's do a content breakdown of 10. Daniel saw a time of distress in the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a great conflict, a great war. Let's read verse 1. In the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a message was revealed to Daniel, who was named Belteshazzar, and the message was true and one of great conflict. But he understood the message and had an understanding of the vision. So what Daniel understood about this great conflict, this great war. Second, then Daniel, what did he do? He mourned and fasted for 3 weeks. This is in verse 2 to 3. In those days, I, Daniel, had been mourning for 3 entire weeks. I did not eat any tasty food, nor did meat or wine enter my mouth, nor did I use any ointment at all. So it was a fasting prayer. He did a fasting prayer. Third, he saw the glory of the Lord appearing. He saw it. So he had this vision. Then for 3 weeks he prayed, and then he saw the glory of the Lord. Daniel 10, 4 to 6. And on the 24th day of the 1st month, while I was by the bank of the great river, that is the Tigris, I lifted my eyes and looked, and behold, there was a certain man dressed in linen, whose waist was girded with a belt of pure gold of Uphaz. His body also was like beryl. His face had the appearance of lightning. His eyes were like the flaming torches. His arms and feet like the gleam of a polished bronze, and the sound of his words like the sound of a tumult. So here, there was a certain man. Who is this man? And so he says, a certain man, clothed in linen, with a belt of fine gold of Uphaz around his nest. His body like beryl, his face like lightning, his eyes like flaming torches, his arms and legs like the gleam of burnished bronze, and the sound of his words like the sound of a multitude. So his sound is not, it's a sound of a multitude, not a sound of one. So this is in Daniel 10, 4 to 6. So we saw this one man. But why does it seem like there's glory of the Lord here? Revelations 1, 13 to 17. Verse 13, let's read. In the middle of the lampstands, I saw one like a son of man, clothed in a robe reaching to the feet, and girded across his chest with the golden sash. His head and his hair were like white wool, like snow, and his eyes were like a flame of fire. His feet were like the burnished bronze, when it has been made to glow in a furnace, and his voice was like the sound of many waters. In his right hand he held 7 stars, and out of his mouth came a sharp 2-edged sword. And his face was like the sun shining in its strength. And so in the book of Revelations, it talks about a son of man. Daniel 10 is a certain man, but in Revelations 1, it's a son of man. But when we compare the appearances, now verse 17, it says that, do not be afraid, I am the first and the last. That's what he's saying. So remember, he clothed in the robe reaching down to his feet, with a golden sash around his chest. His head and hair were like white like wool, as white as snow, His eyes were like a flame of fire. His feet were like burnished bronze. His voice was like the sound of many waters. And his face was like the sun shining in its full strength. And so when we compare these two, the certain man and then the Son of Man. So look, it says golden sash. And then the one had like a face like lightning. And then here the face was like shining sun, the sun shining. And it says up here the eyes were like flaming torches. The other one, the eyes were like a flame of fire. His feet were like the burnished bronze. However, the one voice is a sound of many waters, or the other one is like the sound of multitude. It's very similar, right? When you compare them, it's very likely they're the same. So who is this? This is talking about the Lord in the book of Revelations, the Son of Man. So I am first and the last. The first, so Revelation 22:12-13. Behold, I am coming quickly, and my reward is with me, to render to every man according to what he has done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. He will come quickly. Our Lord, our second coming Lord, he will come quickly. And so this explains about the Lord, his shining glory. So fourth, Daniel fell into a deep sleep after seeing the vision. Daniel 10:7-9. Now I, Daniel, alone saw the vision, while the men who were with me did not see the vision. Nevertheless, a great dread fell on them, and they ran away to hide themselves. So I was left alone and saw this great vision. Yet no strength was left in me, for my natural color turned to a deathly pallor, and I retained no strength. But I heard the sound of his words. But then a hand appeared and strengthened Daniel. Now let's read verse 10-12. Then behold, a hand touched me and set me trembling on my hands and knees. And he said to me, O Daniel, man of high esteem, understand the words that I'm about to tell you and stand upright, for I have now been sent to you. And when he had spoken this word to me, I stood up trembling. Then he said to me, do not be afraid, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your heart on understanding this and on humbling yourselves before your God, and your words were heard, I have come in response to your words. So here's some encouragement. Sake, the prince of the kingdom of Persia resisted for 21 days. Daniel 10:13-17. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia was withstanding me for 21 days, and then behold, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, for I had given him left there. And so the answer needs to come right away, but it actually was delayed. So this is like the evil force. As I said earlier, Daniel 10, it's like the invisible spiritual battle. It's a spiritual war that's invisible. But Daniel, he's praying for the war. And they're talking about this battle in the heavens. So it says, I've given to you. So when it says the prince of Persia, prince of the kingdom of Persia, it's talking about a wicked angel that's controlling and intervening the politics of Persia. They're going against and challenging God's will. And so it's that force So God's answer, he wants to give us directly, but 21 days, it was late. And so if you read till 17, it continues. So then the 7th, the Lord strengthened Daniel and enabled him to prevail. So God strengthened him. Daniel 10:18. Then this one with human appearance touched me again and strengthened me. And it said, O man of high esteem, do not be afraid. Peace be with you. Take courage and be courageous. Now as soon as he spoke to me, I received strength and said, May my Lord speak, for you have strengthened me. Now verse 20, then he said, Do you understand why I came to you? Then I shall now return to fight against the prince of Persia, so I am going forth. And behold, the prince of Greece is about to come. However, I would tell you what is inscribed in the writing of truth. Yet there is no one who stands firmly with me against these forces except Michael, your prince. And so this is explanation, Daniel chapter 10. So then let's look at big number 2. So after he saw the vision, what did he do? He did 3 weeks of fasting. Why did he fast? Well, let's look at the reason why Daniel fasted for 3 weeks. Because he had seen a vision of a great conflict. That's why he fasted. So, Daniel 10:1, in the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a message was revealed. And it basically says that, and the message was true about this great conflict. And so the Israel people, so at a time when only about 2 years had passed since the Israelites returned to their homeland after the first return from exile. 538 BC. Cyrus makes a proclamation for the return. It says, return. Those of you, Israelite people, you may return back to your home. Does he let them just go? No. Hey, God is saying that you need to build a temple. So you go return and build him a temple. And so he makes a proclamation for people to return. The next year, 537 BC. So that's the first return the next year. And 536 BC. This is the 3rd year of King Cyrus. The first year is the first year, then 2nd year, then 3rd year. So this is his 3rd year reign. So then he does his prayer. But he saw this vision about the great war, the conflict. And so Daniel was like, oh, there will be a second return and third. He probably did. Do you think he knew about the second return, third return? No, there was first return. Oh, we need to rebuild the temple, the house of God that was burnt down. Daniel does not go with them because he has to do his task. But he's thankful. He's rejoicing. Wow, God is truly working history. There's good things going to happen for Israel. At that time, he sees this great conflict. Wow. I thought everything is going to be restored, but there will be this great conflict, this great war that will happen. We don't know when this is going to happen, but what should I do now? You might, with the human mindset, be filled with despair. So he's sad, he's fasting, and he's praying. So after he received this vision about the great conflict, the war, but 2 years he sent them back. He had them build. It's because he saw this, that's why he fasted, after seeing that vision. And the answer to the prayer, God gave it. And Daniel 10, 19, and 21, Daniel, don't worry. I will give you strength. And so Daniel was strengthened and was assured of victory. That's the answer to the prayers. That's read verse 19. And he said, O man of high esteem, do not be afraid. Peace be to you. Take courage and be courageous. Now as soon as he spoke to me, I received strength and said, May my Lord speak, for you have strengthened me. However, I will tell you what is inscribed in the writings of truth. Yet there is no one who stands firmly with me against these forces except Michael, your prince. So this is his spiritual condition. There was fear. He was scared, afraid. Everything seems to be going well. They're going to rebuild the temple. But then what? War? This great conflict? What's going to happen in the future? And then his heart is now anxious again about this future. And then he prayed. And then through that, God's saying, don't be afraid. You'll be fine. Second, why did he? Because the Israelites had returned but had not yet begun the construction of the temple, that's why he prayed. So the construction of the temple has not yet started, but they have returned. Ezekiel 3:16. Ezra 3:1-6. Ezra. Now when the 7th month came and the sons of Israel were in the cities, the people gathered together as one man to Jerusalem. From the first day of the 7th month, they began to offer burnt offerings to the Lord, but the foundation of the temple of the Lord had not been laid. So they have to build the temple of God when they return, but they have still not done so. 537, the 7th month. This is the 7th month from the religious calendar, not our solar calendar. But it says the foundation of the temple of the Lord had not been laid. But he did receive answer to his prayer. The very next day after having prayed. 539 BC, 2nd month. This is the religious calendar, the 2nd month. And they began the reconstruction of the temple. Now, 3:8 of Ezra. Now in the 2nd year of their coming to the house of God at Jerusalem in the 2nd month, Zerubbabel the son of Shealtiel and Jeshua the son of Jozadak and the rest of their brothers, the priests and the Levites, and all who came to the captivity to Jerusalem began the work and appointed the Levites from 20 years and older to oversee the work of the house of the Lord. So now they're officially starting, right? In the very next month, the 2nd month of 536 BC, the construction has finally begun. And so this is the 12th book, I believe, in the part 2. It talks about how did it begun, the construction. So it's like a timeline. Cyrus, it says Cyrus. There's one on the bottom. This is Cyrus's years of reign. But Tishri, so this is the 1st year of Cyrus, 2nd year of his reign, 3rd year of his reign, 4th year of his reign. So the 1st year of his reign was the proclamation given. And then in 537 they return. They need to build the temple, but they're not able to. Daniel, hold on that. And so here then he prays in the 4th year. near the end of the third. And then finally after the Daniel's prayer, that's when the construction of the Zerubbabel temple, that's finally begins. So this is the timeline. So this is after Daniel's prayer that the construction of Zerubbabel temple has begun. So second, examples of fasting prayer in the Bible. For 3 weeks, he fasted and prayed. So then, when do you do fasting prayer to receive God's answers? So when you have deep grief, people fast and pray. When you have deep grief. For 2 Samuel 1:12, Saul and his son Johanan died in the battle. And now Daniel then comes to power. Second, while waiting for the grace of healing. Psalms 35:13, but as for me, when they were sick, my clothing was sackcloth, humbled my soul with fasting, and my prayer kept returning to my bosom. So when you fast, when you're sick, when you're ill, and you're waiting for God's healing, also, Isaiah 58, verse 6 and 8. Is this not the fast which I choose, to loosen the bonds of wickedness, to undo the bands of the yoke, and to let the oppressed go free, and break my every yoke? Third, when a nation is in extreme crisis, you fast. So you fast when a nation is in extreme crisis. Esther 4:15-16. The Haman wanted to destroy all of the Israelites, right, with his scheme. But then she's a queen. And then Mordecai tells her, hey, for you have come to this position to save your people in such times as this. This is why you're in such a high position. So pray. Let's overcome. Please save our people. Let's overcome this through prayer. So, verse 16, it says, go assemble all the Jews who are found in Susa, fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my maidens also will fast in the same way, and thus I will go into the king, which is not according to the law, and if I perish, I perish. Fourth, we do fasting prayer when repenting of the sins of the people. Daniel 9, verses 1-3. In the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, of Median descent, who was made king over the kingdom of the Chaldeans, in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, observed in the books the number of the years which is revealed as the word of the Lord to the Jeremiah prophet, for the completion of the desolations of Jerusalem, namely 70 years. Now it's time for them to return. Exodus, when you're seeking a special revelation from God, you do a fasting prayer. Exodus 34:28. So he was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights. He did not eat bread or drink water, and he wrote on the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 Commandments. And then when waiting for God's direction, Acts 13, verse 2. A church sends missionaries. And it says, while they were ministering to the Lord and fasting, the Holy Spirit said, set apart for me Barnabas and Saul for the work to which I've called them. And so you fast when you are waiting for God's direction. Like they were waiting for God's instruction on starting this mission. And then when you're beginning of a new mission, you fast. Jesus, before his public ministry, when he was about to start his public ministry, it says that Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And after he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he then became hungry. So he fasted. And he was able to then overcome the temptation and the test of Satan. Eighth, for the restoration and revival of the church or the community, people fast and pray. Joel 2:12-13. Yet even now declares the Lord, return to me with all your heart, and with fasting, weeping, and mourning. So the Israelite people, the church community, for the restoration and revival, that's why we fast. So extreme sadness, when there's healing need to be done, for the nation, for the people, they always went to the Lord with fasting prayer. So we pray. But when we really need a solution to something, then you need to plan aside and fast and pray. Then God will not forsake us, but He will definitely answer our prayers. So Daniel, he also, it was instant. As after you pray, right after, immediate response, right? And so, today's conclusion. Even in the midst of extreme distress, Daniel was strengthened and relied on the Word. So even in the midst of extreme distress, Daniel was strengthened and relied on the Word. Daniel 10:19. And he said, O man of high esteem, do not be afraid. Peace be with you. Take courage and be courageous. Now as soon as he spoke to me, I received strength and said, may my Lord speak, for you have strengthened me. God has strengthened me. So God gives us strength when we pray and go forth to Him. So we need to respond. You have strengthened me, so may my Lord speak. I will trust in the Word. That's the life of faith. And so let us live such week. I bless in the name of the Lord.